Hi, I wanted to make an explanation of how I learned how to play the 5-string violin as an adult. I used to be a guitar player and I play keyboard. I did play viola for a tiny bit as a kid, but for over 10 to 15 years I haven't played any stringed instruments other than guitar. And I started to learn the violin because it was a lighter weight than guitar and because I had an injury at the time that made me want to consider other options other than slogging around with my guitar in a case with an amplifier everywhere. It's acoustic and electric, so it has a pickup in it and a little saddle for the bridge where the pickup is located. If you see the black saddle right here, it keeps the bridge in there and that's where the pickup is. So as an electric violin, that means that I can still play with a band, with an amp if I want to, but I can play it acoustically, naturally at home without one. I can play it with or without the mute. I can use these guitar style tuners that are a little bit more stable than the normal style for a beginner instrument anyway. This was $99 US when I bought it. It was by Yinfente and I bought it on eBay as a total experiment, and I want to share with you how it's gone. I want to play a little bit so I don't just keep talking and talking, but I will kind of share some of the things that I found different about the 5-string violin relative to the 4-string that I first tried out. First thing I tried out was a 4-string and I moved to the 5 and I found that it was a good trade-off for me anyway. So I'm going to play a little bit and show you the sound of it at least, and then I'm going to do a bow comparison between 3 bows. This was the standard one that came with it, and I bought 2 other Baroque style bows just for fun, and those are a bit more lightweight. Anyway, I'm going to play to start the sound, and then we will compare the sound. So it'd be open strings. Sorry about all those little squeaks. I am a beginner, like I said. I've been playing this for a couple years now. 3 years ago I got this, and I've posted a couple of different videos on my other social media, but now this is a full review I'm going to do for my YouTube. It's a 3-year learning curve. The things that I found initially when I very started were that my contact point needed a lot of work for a very long time before I could get my notes nice and clean, and they're still working on it, obviously. Oh, take my mute off. I forgot that I had the mute on the bridge. The little rubber piece right here that I have sitting on the strings clamps down the strings a little bit, and I forgot that I had that on there. Anyway, sorry, I should retest that really for the open sound. It's a little bit louder now. So does the low string of a viola, and I've actually tuned this into scordatura plus a semitone. This is actually the Paganini style tuning, though I don't know that he used the 5-string, but it makes the low string a little bit more stable and it makes it all brighter all around. So I'm using the plus one semitone tuning, just for your reference. This was the standard style bow that came with it, and this is the loudest bow out of the ones that I have here. The other 2, one is, I got both of those on eBay too. They're both Baroque style, and one is normal hair. I don't know if that's synthetic or real or whatever, and then this one is definitely hair. Darker Mongolian, it said, I think, so I don't know if all the Mongolian hair is darker or if it's just advertised that way, but for whatever reason, this dark hair is definitely thicker, and it's actually pretty loud too. The Baroque normal bow, like the normal, I don't know if it's nylon or if it's hair of some kind, I can't remember from the listing, but this one is the quietest out of the three. I used to have some other ones from the other test violins that I got to, and I kind of traded some of those out, and I kept the ones that I liked. So this one is a little bit quieter, but it's also sharp. The Baroque bows are trebly, a little bit more scratchy sounding, or a little bit more, I don't know, I wouldn't call it vocal. I would call it, it's definitely, sounds like a violin. So it sounds trebly, a little bit sharp. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's a little less bass response in the bow because it's lighter weight, and so the weight of the actual stick of the bow doesn't lean into the string as much and doesn't produce as much energy, as much volume. The dark one, though, by comparison, is actually pretty loud still. It has some fuller body at times, but it's also very sharp at the top end. So sometimes I'll use this one to play like riffs like that, if I'm looking for a bright sound that stays very low. Hopefully that came through all right in the microphone there. I'm just recording this on my phone. I'm going to post it casually. Hopefully that's okay with you guys. Hopefully it's helpful regardless, even though it's not quite professionally done. That's okay. I am a beginner, like I said. I really like the sound of it, honestly. I can't say that I've compared it with expensive instruments. I have never played an expensive instrument. This is the only one that I'm playing currently. And so I can't compare it exactly to what you guys may have or might be looking at getting by comparison, but I do really like it. So I find that maybe out of all of the lower cost violins, maybe some of them are less reliable, but some of them are pretty good too. So if you fish around in there, you might find one that you really like. For me, the tuners, the guitar style tuners really sold me on this one. So if you can find one like that, I would recommend it. Whether it's silent or acoustic electric. You know, you can kind of silent electric violins too. Those are good for practice at home, and they're good for electric. They also feed back less. This, on stage with amplifiers, the vibrations of the whole body and the bridge actually will feed back a little bit, and it will hiss a little bit even. So to do that, you can reduce the tone knob. You can turn the tone down to hopefully reduce some of the treble, but then you're also losing the character of your sound. The volume also goes from 0 to full, and it's actually not quite muted at 0, and at full it's very loud, to be honest. It's much louder than a electric guitar output, but still I don't say that you should put it straight into a mixing board. I say that you should use it with a pedal of some kind, like a reverb, or people use a direct input box, a DI box. Anyway, I had to buy this. I bought the mute. I bought the 2 extra bows to experiment with. They were very cheap. Like I said, this was $99 and the bows were like, I think $50. Like it was $49 probably. I do want to play more to show some of the technique that I'm working on and how I built it from start to where it is now, which is still not finished, but there were things that I find might be different on a 5-string to other people's 4-strings, so I want to go compare that for anyone that does want to try a 5-string and might be curious what the differences are. One thing I noticed right away at the start was that when you're tuning the strings, whether it's with these or the normal style tuners, the strings affect each other, and they also affect the bridge like this. So when you tighten one string, it can have the effect of slightly moving the bridge, and it can actually put the other ones out of tune. So that was one thing that confused me for a long time early on, and I was still trying to build my ear training so that I could tune it without a tuner. I know that you can use electric tuners with these, but I've abstained from doing that to try to build my ear training to the point where I can hear it confidently and clearly with my own ears, and that's coming with time. is still difficult. But so if I tune this by ear, when I was beginning, I would find that I'm tuning this string, trying to get it in tune with these two, and then when I move on, I'm tuning these two, but then I go back and these ones have actually changed. They've gotten flatter if I sharpen these, and they'll get sharper if I flatten these. The strings with the most tension on them seem to be the middle ones, and the high one obviously is tuned the tightest, but it's also lighter, right? So I find that if the middle string is tightened, all of the other strings go slightly flatter. So when I wake up and I try to play it again, for a tip that you should take if you're playing 5-string, if yours behaves like this too, I hope that maybe this isn't completely useless. I hope that it might help to know that if your violin sounds all out of tune suddenly, sometimes only one of them has changed, and if you retighten that one, you can kind of do the math in your head to find out, like, oh, maybe it's just this one that's out of tune. It's not all of them that's out of tune. They will all be literally out of tune, but only one of them might need to be corrected, and it will slightly correct the others at the same time. If you get what I mean, there's kind of a push and pull to the bridge that causes that. A lot like a Floyd Rose bridge. If you play guitar and you know a Floyd Rose and you're trying to tune that, or if you try to do a double bend on a Floyd Rose, it will send the bridge tension sideways, and the same thing happens on here. So even for violin players, maybe switching to 5-string, or I don't know how prevalent that is on a 4-string, to what extent it affects it, but it definitely does, in my experience, affect this one. What else did I want to say? I want to make this a part 1, so I won't make this too long, but I will play a little bit more. I've got the mute off, so this is loud. I'm going to make a follow-up video where I play with an amp and explain exactly how I set up the amplifiers and what effects that I might use on it. But for now, I wanted to do an acoustic demo to start. So I'm upstairs here in the big room where it's going to be nice and acoustic. What techniques did I work on? For more basics to learn. Double stops. I found that it's fun to play power chord style double stops. If you play power chords on guitar, it's even easier on the violin because they're all tuned to fifths, right? So everything is a power chord. Everything is a drop D chord, basically. See, just like all the open strings are power chords. I'm going to play it angled this way a little bit because the microphone will hear it the best, and it will be a lot like where I'm hearing it into my ear, right here, close to it. Hoping that will improve the sound, or make you able to hear the differences between what I'm talking about. So I worked on the power chord, which is a first interval I would do, which is you can do this with one finger.